future freelancer, this is the question that everyone asks, and that's, how much should I charge? It was an answer that me and Jill learned the hard way.
That wasn't so hard, right? What?
When I started out, I only charged $10 an hour, and it was way overworked trying to bring in just $3,000 a month. Now I can send a proposal for $10,000 per month now to a client, and they are happy to pay that amount.
No way.
Jill had the same thing happen to her. She was originally charging $35 an hour, and then she sent her first $5,000 proposal, and the client didn't even care. He wanted to hire her anyways. You'd be surprised at not only how much you can charge, but also how fast you can raise your rates as you continue to get better at your skill. In this lesson, you're going to figure out your own starting price. I say starting price because we first need to calculate your minimum hourly rate needed, or as I sometimes call it, my pay the rent fee, because it's really just the bare minimum I need to cover my ass. From there, we'll talk about how you can transition to the best pricing model, the retainer model, and how to avoid hourly projects altogether, and how can you price other types of gigs. Are you ready to figure out what your new hourly rate's going to be? Let's get into it. Let's first start out by saying that you're probably going to have to charge at least double what you're making at your current job. There's going to be 3 reasons for this. First, in the freelancing world, you don't have your taxes automatically taken out by your employer, like you would usually have done on a paycheck. We're going to get more into taxes in an upcoming module. Next, if you quit your job, you're not going to have any benefits. Hello, health insurance. And finally, you have no PTO. PTO meaning paid time off. And you probably want to be able to take vacation sometimes, right? That means that you need to charge more money so you can set aside, paid time off for future vacations. Now that you know it's basically a requirement to charge more than what you're making right now, let's get into what that actual number is going to be.
Let's get to the numbers.
Jump into the spreadsheet. There's a formula for this. It's going to sound complicated, but hear me out. It's all your total expenses divided by your total number of billable hours. This equals your minimum hourly rate. I told you it sounded complicated. Let's break down what this means. First, we're going to break down the first portion of this, your total expenses. Your expenses will be your desired salary plus other business expenses plus any benefits. Here's an example. Let's say if you want to make $50,000 per year, then think about your expenses, like a phone bill, computer, and let's say this ends up being around $10,000. And then for your benefits, like health insurance, it's going to be $12,000 per year. We'll get more into the details on what the actual cost of those will look like in a future module. Now, if you add all these estimates together, you're looking at $72,000 for your combined business expenses. Now, we're also going to add in a profit margin of 10%. This is the bare minimum I would recommend, and the maximum is probably about 30%. And you add this kind of like a cushion for your income in your business. Practically all freelancers do this, and don't feel bad for doing so. When you go and buy products at a retail store like Target, you're paying a higher price than if you bought it directly from the manufacturer, right? That's how Target makes money. They charge a higher price, therefore they get a profit margin from what they originally bought the product for. That's just how businesses work, and you're doing the same thing. So you're going to charge 10% on top of that $72,000, which equates to $79,200. Now, the second part of the formula is the total number of billable hours. Think about it like this. You're not going to want to work 9 to 5 every weekday. It's not human. I don't even know why that exists in the first place. And even if you did decide you wanted to work 40 hours, 8-hour days, whatever, not all of that time is going to be billable anyways. Billable basically means these are the hours that you can actually charge a client for your services. Non-billable hours, as you can assume, are hours where you can't charge for your services, but you're still working. Some examples might be writing emails, doing accounting, or other various tasks that are just required for you to keep up with your business. And it's going to take a portion of those 8 hours. Let's say that it takes 2 hours, and now you have 6-hour workdays. So let's say that those 6 hours times 5 days a week, working every weekday, equals 30 billable hours per week. And if you want to work less than 30-hour weeks, we have the pricing spreadsheet linked below, and we're about to walk through it so you can figure out what your hourly rate would be, even if you wanted to work 3 or 4-hour workdays. Now, we also need to incorporate some holidays, sick days, and any vacations as part of our overall compensation. Let's do the math to find out how many hours you will be out of the office. In the US, you're looking at an average of 11 holidays, plus 15 vacation days, plus 7 sick days, for a total of 33 days off. 33 days off times your 6 billable hours is 198 billable hours not worked. Now, let's do the math to find your total number of billable hours per year. 30 billable hours per week times 52 weeks in a year is 1,560 hours of billable work in the whole year. Those 1,560 hours minus the 198 billable hours not worked equals 1,362 actual billable hours per year. If we divide this by the 79,200 in business expenses, you're going to get a $58 hourly rate for 30 billable hour work weeks. And that is the minimum needed to hit your $50K a year goal.
Okay, I just threw up a little.
I know that was a lot of numbers thrown at you. It makes a lot more sense in the sheet. Okay. But isn't that crazy? That might be 3x what your currently hourly rate is now. Once you start applying to gigs with this new hourly rate, you should be looking for a 50% yes and 50% no from future clients. If you're getting constant no's, but your profile is great because you followed our template and has testimonials, then you could be charging too much initially, and you may need to lower your price in the beginning. But more commonly, the opposite actually happens. Everyone says yes to you, and this is because you were undercharging. This is a common beginner mistake when freelancing. You don't know how much you're worth, so businesses hire you at a steal, just like they used to do to me. So when you're applying, use the 50-50 rule to guide your pricing, and it's going to fluctuate over time. From what I heard, I probably still don't even charge enough now. So it happens to all of us. So go ahead and input, if you haven't already, in any of these non-green cells here with your stats. Then you'll get your minimum hourly rate. I've also added on some extra knowledge here on how you'll increase your hourly rates as you get better. As your certainty probability increases, you will be able to charge more. Certainty probability is essentially how certain you and your services will get the clients the results that they're looking for. For example, if you're freelancing TikTok growth as a service, what is the probability that you can grow their account if you've done it for 10 different other accounts before versus 0 accounts? The odds are perceived and probably going to be much higher than if you had 0 experience. So when you're starting out, you probably want to put like a 1 to 3% probability here because you hardly have any experience with this skill. Then as you get better, whether that be through prior experience or mock work, you can see how your hourly rate is going to increase as your certainty probability has increased. Keep context of the industry in mind though. You can't go and charge like 3 times whatever other freelancers are charging because no one's going to hire you. You need to charge yourself at a similar skill level and experience level as other freelancers. Finally, you're going to see in this sheet that I added some stats about retainer models. You can use this to figure out how many clients you need on certain retainer amounts to hit your financial goals. We're going to talk about all these different pricing models in the next module, so go ahead if you haven't already, fill out the spreadsheet, figure out your hourly rate, and jump into the next module where you can figure out how quickly you can get out of hourly rate work and into the best, in my opinion, the best pricing model, the retainer model.
I found my retainer!